Welcome to another episode of Your Money, Your Mission, the podcast where we break down complex financial situations into actionable advice. Powered by Johnson Financial Group. I'm your host, Kelly Mold, and today we're diving into a topic that affects us all: how employers can enhance their retirement plan outcomes and ensure their workforce is retirement ready. Joining me are Brett Olmsted, Senior Vice President and Director of Retirement Plan Services, and Sam Kolb, Assistant Vice President of Retirement Plan Services, Participant Education Specialist. That is quite a title, Sam.
It sure is.
Thank you so much for both being with me today. So why don't we start by telling us a little bit about what we mean by employer retirement plans.
Sure. We work with employer-sponsored retirement plans, mainly 401k and 403b. We also work with pension plans, although the focus here is more on participant-driven plans and working with the workforce.
Okay.
So we're going to talk more about those defined contribution plans, 401k and savings plans today.
Mm-hmm. And these are all size companies that we're talking about?
We can work with any size company.
Okay.
We typically work along with our bank partners. So our focus really is on small to mid-market, family-owned, privately held companies. We also work with not-for-profit community organizations as well throughout Wisconsin and the Midwest.
So you're a good solution for entrepreneurs just trying to figure out how to provide this for their employees.
We do. We can also work with those small young companies.
Okay.
Those that want to start a plan, those that are graduating from a simple or a SEP plan, we can help set them up with a real life 401k savings plan for their employees.
Great. Sam, so I know that you deal with the education part of this for the employees. Can you tell me why this is really important for business owners to really think about and probably even for entrepreneurs as they start out and grow? Why is this a critical thing?
So it's interesting. There was a survey that came out a while ago, and a lot of employees believe that it is the employer's responsibility to actually help them understand their financial plan, go through any kind of educational details with it. They do actually rely pretty heavily on their employer to make sure that they are well informed on their benefits, which makes perfect sense. So if you're an employer and you want to make sure that you are retaining the top talent, you have people sticking around for a long time, you're going to want a plan that has good benefits. A lot of cases we have employer matches, which I can talk about a little bit more in detail later. It's free money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I usually tell a lot of my participants, if I'm just in a one-on-one with them, to at the very least get the match if they are saving in their retirement plan.
Yeah. Why leave money on the table, right?
Exactly. It's free money. Why would you do that?
Right.
But my job is, it kind of varies, I guess. I do everything from just individual one-on-ones with the employees. If they have questions about, I'm just getting started, I'm 20 years old, what is a 401k plan? Or if they're in their 60s and they're looking to start talking about what does retirement actually look like for me? My job is to chat with them, give them as much information as possible, and then if need be, I can refer them to someone within Johnson to help them further with, whatever needs they might have.
So I imagine this is even more critical today when I think back 20, 30 years, which I can't believe I can say those numbers, but I can easily. This is not a world of pensions where pensions are readily available. So this becomes even more critical. And I would imagine even more important benefit for employers to make sure is part of the package. Is that pretty accurate?
It's a differentiator.
Okay.
There's access is improving, but there are many sectors in the economy where 401k or savings plans still aren't that prevalent. So there are some Americans that don't have access to these types of retirement plans at work. So it becomes a differentiator for employers to offer that future-looking benefit to help their employees. But you're right about that history. Pension plans were often big company tools. And so the 401k over the last 30 to 40 years has democratized access to retirement savings, and more people now have access than do not, and that access continues to grow. So really, we're here to make sure that those employers are able to be employers of choice, that they're able to attract, and as Sam said, retain key talent, retain a loyal workforce. And what Sam is also getting at in her role as an educator is that it is funny that employees do look to their employers. They look to them for that advice. They look to them for those solutions. When we walk into an employer that we haven't worked with before, or even some of our clients, it's really stunning how often we're the first financial professional that someone has ever met. And so for us to be able to offer those services to an employer's workforce to help them become more financially literate, to help them save for those longer term goals, that can improve the workforce's morale. It can improve productivity. I think we all know that the less anxiety your workforce has, the more they're focused on the job at hand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting to me because as a young professional many, many years ago,
Not that
many, but I remember joining the 401k. It was a given. It was like culturally in that environment, you were expected to sign on, or otherwise you were considered not smart enough to work there. That was how aggressive it was, but it was a good thing. But not once in the 20 years that I had been with that company did I ever meet a retirement plan services professional or get any education outside of, I mean, once I filled out the paperwork, that was it for 20 years. There was no other than I think maybe an email here and one email came out. It wasn't even in the beginning. So not a lot of communication. So this seems to me to be a tremendous opportunity for individual investors who maybe wouldn't really have exposure to that. And there's benefits to this, right? So let's talk about why someone should be thinking about this. What are the real advantages to an employee who's taking advantage of this offering?
The biggest advantages are tax related.
Okay.
And they're time related.
Okay.
You know, if you can get someone who is just entering the workforce to start saving as soon as possible, to give those years ahead of them the time to build those savings, to build those investments, and to compound over a working career, that's going to set them up for a lot of success later. The 401k system also benefits from tax deferral and tax avoidance. So when you make contributions pre or after tax with Roth contributions, you're either getting a tax benefit now or you're getting a tax benefit in the future. And as Sam alluded to, you're also setting yourself up for the possibility of employer contributions.
So they can do it pre-tax or they can do it post-tax, essentially through a Roth.
Yes, whenever I am speaking to employees, sometimes for the first time, and they're like, how should I fund my retirement plan? I always make sure that they are aware that there's options. You can be taxed now so that you are not taxed in the future when you take that money out. Or you can not be taxed now, but when you do take that money out, it's going to be taxed as regular income. And it is interesting how a lot of people aren't aware that that's an option. And when you had mentioned before, when you signed up for your 401k plan and you never heard from anyone, that is not an uncommon story. I recently went on a plan we just acquired, and I spoke with a gentleman who said, I think you're the first person to come in and talk about any of this in like 10 years. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay. So let's have a conversation. Let's see where you're at. How are you invested? And just let's figure some things out.
Yeah, I can. That is such an incredible tool. People then, I would imagine, feel very comfortable to talk to you.
I hope so.
Ask you the questions because you're the ones dealing with their retirement. And they may not know the difference between a Roth or how you can access either of those buckets for different reasons, depending on your planning. So business owners, employers their heads are down working, right? They're building their company, they're doing that. So what kinds of things can retirement plan services provide to these employers to make this a really kind of push the easy button situation?
Sure. We work with our employer clients in a variety of ways. We want them to focus on their business so we can focus on protecting them as a plan fiduciary. The sponsor of that plan has responsibilities they can't just give away.
Right.
So our team exists to make sure that we are providing them with updates to regulatory and legislative changes. We plan and maintain investment lineups that meet their requirements to offer a well-diversified portfolio or lineup or menu of investments for their employees to choose from. We meet with them periodically. We provide them fiduciary training and advice to make sure that they understand their roles and responsibilities in managing those plans. And then we also support them again with the workforce. So we really have two clients for every relationship that we take on as a retirement plan provider. We have that plan sponsor and the people that are on their executive or their administrative team, and we work with them to make sure the plan operates as it should. And then we also have as clients all of their employees that want to participate in the plan that we work with to educate and help to become better savers and better consumers of financial information and to create better habits.
And it sounds like there's a lot of there's art and science that goes into creating the right plan for the employer. Do you help with that in terms of customizing a plan?
We do. We offer plan design services. As Sam said, when we take on a new plan, part of that review process is doing a thorough review of how the plan is currently structured. So we want to make sure that the plan is being operated as the documents require. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that the plan is being run in a way that meets the employer's needs and goals so that it's simple for them to administer. Mm-hmm. And we also want to make sure that there's nothing missing from that plan that would be a further opportunity for them to support the workforce or to meet another one of their employer goals to attract, retain, grow their workforce.
So I imagine there's some pitfalls that employers could experience if they don't have the right guidance. What are some of the things that they should avoid?
The world of retirement plans is a world of it's a world of rules. And so I think the key is really expert advisors. Mm. You want to make sure that you have an advisor who understands plan operations, who understands overseeing plan record keeping and the back office functions that go along with managing a 401k plan or a retirement plan. And you also want to make sure that you have an advisor who is in this world. Mm-hmm. You work with wealth management clients, you work with families and institutions, and it's so, aside from offering investment solutions, it's so different from what a retirement plan requires. Right. It's a different legal framework, a different regulatory framework. And that's where the expertise of having a real expert comes through.
That makes some sense. So the financial education part of that, I would think that is, a huge bonus as part of getting your help. What kinds of things do you structure for the employees as part of that financial education?
Well, it depends on what the employees are looking for. In a lot of cases, we actually are able to send out surveys that the employers can give to their employees. And they say, what kinds of things are you interested in? Are you looking for maybe tax planning? Are you looking for Social Security? Maybe some retirement planning? Or maybe there's a large population of the workforce that has kids going to college or thinking about going to college. So it's really nice because I have a whole portfolio of different presentations that I'm able to pick from, and I usually work with the employer to figure out which presentation is going to be the most impactful for that group of employees who responded to the survey. In a lot of cases, one of our most popular ones is the retirement readiness presentation. That's just kind of where we get really into the weeds about, here are some things you need to know about getting ready for retirement. And if you're in your 50s and you've never spoken with a financial planner, let us know and we can get you connected. Or have you ever logged in and seen what your Social Security benefits are going to look like? And what are going to be the tax implications when you do finally start taking money out of your 401k? All of these things are things people don't necessarily think about, but the presentation gives people a really nice foundation to kind of make a list and check off the things they need to just have ready to go before retiring.
This is a real differentiator for our team. We have an entire curriculum called Money Matters, My JFG Money Matters, and we can use that curriculum to guide someone through all the stages of their financial life, from just starting out, as Sam said, to getting ready to really retire. And we do that with financial basics. We do that with pre-retirement planning. We do that with foundations of financial planning. We do that. We're constantly expanding as well. So, coming soon are going to be more thematic presentations around preparing for Medicare or preparing for Medicaid or Social Security optimization. And with the strength of JFG and all the experts that we have that are not on our team, we have people that can speak to all of those different aspects of a financial life. And that's really what a participant, an employee needs, is they need that open door to start looking at their financial life as an opportunity to plan for more.
And I would imagine if employers commit to this, they're obviously looking for great participation. So do you give them some guidance in how to facilitate participation? I mean, the days of the 80s where they said, well, if you don't do this, you're obviously not smart enough to work here, is not a strategy that we employ anymore in any place I've ever been.
We try to use more positive strategies than that.
I would think so. So what kinds of things?
Part of it is plan design. So when you're setting up a plan, new plans are required to use what's called automatic enrollment. So that is the when someone joins your organization, unless they choose not to, unless they choose to opt out, they're in the plan. They're automatically in the plan. So that's a way that a plan can just capture
great.
new employees. And inertia combined with what Sam said earlier is that employees are looking to their employers. They do trust them. And so there's a subconscious, well, my employers thinks this is important, so I'm going to just join the plan. There's also behavioral and educational, and that's where Sam and her team come in. It's not enough just to get them into the plan. You have to also engage them beyond that. So part of it is that plan design. We can nudge people in the right direction, but then we also want to provide the seminars, the one-on-one opportunities, the repetitive touch that gets them to think about this as a part of their employment journey, as a part of the benefits they're being offered, and to form a relationship with Sam and with our other advisors as their financial professionals.
I remember years ago myself, and then subsequent to that, many of the employees that reported to me that once they participated in a plan, they were shocked at how little it took on, a biweekly basis to contribute to it, how they didn't miss it, and yet how, all of a sudden they had these extra dollars growing for them. They were always quite surprised that they had this asset. Do you experience that as well?
It's extremely impactful, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily grasp that right away. A 401k is just such a powerful tool, and as I sort of introduce individuals to the plan, in a lot of cases, the 401k or the employer retirement savings plan is going to be roughly half of someone's retirement income. And once they understand that, oh, this is a really important piece for retirement, they do tend to become a little bit more engaged. Or if there's someone who maybe is not as interested in being involved, I say, okay, it's really easy to just sign up. Here's the type of investment that might be good for you based on your interests, based on your timeline, based on, your risk levels, or risk tolerance. And you can just set it and forget it, and there you go, and you never have to look at it again. I mean, ideally, they'll log in at least once a year, but we can only be so hopeful.
Right.
Getting people interested is a challenge. And it's the challenge that Sam and her team are faced with in every workforce group. How do you get someone to think about the benefits to their future self?
Right. Well, especially when the future seems 30, 40 years off. I mean, they will be surprised how fast that moves forward.
Yes.
But yeah, that is hard, right? To picture future self and what your future needs are going to be. Are there any misconceptions about employer offered benefits that people have that you try to dispel?
Some people think, oh, it's not worth it. I could save on my own in an IRA or a Roth IRA and I'll be fine. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand the power of what Brett had mentioned earlier about, either the tax implications or if there is an employer match that is available, please utilize that because it is just so important and again, so impactful for your future.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions that employees have is, especially those just starting out, I can't afford it. It's too much money. I can't sacrifice. We often encourage employers to make sure that they're allowing people to enter plans as soon as possible after hire because you don't let people get used to a certain level of compensation. You let them get used to a level of compensation
that includes
while they're
that
saving.
Savings. Right.
And it's also, on the employer side, I think that some employers, some organizations don't put enough importance on offering this type of benefit. All employee benefits have their place.
Right.
But we get the luxury of being sort of the forward-looking, the future-building employee benefit. Right. And the longer someone is with an organization, the larger their balance grows, the more they tend to become more loyal and more productive and more a part of that employer's key core team because they feel a connection, especially what Sam said, employer contributions. After several years, tens of thousands of dollars might accrue in that account from your employer. And so that creates a tie that employer's helping me to save for my retirement. And so it's important to think about this. You are providing for your employees' future goals in a way that can help them to become better employees and also to help them retire when they want to.
Yes.
Right.
Also helping employers to keep the workforce moving as they need to do succession planning and they need to change their workforce over time.
Right. We can all only work so many hours, right? We need some
Very true.
other money working for us as well.
Yes.
So what kind of steps would you recommend to employers to improve their plan outcomes or to improve that participation and make sure that they know that's kind of part of the DNA of the company?
I would say at the plan level, at the organization level, a lot of employers will set it and forget it. They don't review their plans often enough. They don't ask their advisors to review the partnerships that they have with the plan service providers. And there can be a little bit of inertia. This is an area that changes fairly rapidly. You want to make sure that you're reviewing your fees every so many years. You want to be sure that your provider is keeping you up to date on plan operation, on plan administration. You want to make sure that you're thinking about changing technology and changing cybersecurity requirements.
Right.
There's a lot there. And so more attention, every 3 to 5 years, it's a good idea to look at those providers, to look at those relationships, to do a review.
I'm a little biased, of course, just because of my title, but education is honestly so important. Whenever we go in for a sales pitch for a new plan, in a lot of cases, if I'm along, I will ask, well, what do you do right now for education? And I get a blank stare back because they're like, well, we have a person who comes in maybe once a year and they sign on new employees and then they stick around a little and then they're gone and we don't
we
hear
have them
from
sign
them.
up.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we don't hear from them until next year when we have more people. And it's like, okay, to keep employees engaged throughout the year while also not bombarding them with so much content that it just becomes white noise in the background. It's a delicate balance, but it is so impactful to even come in twice a year and just give those presentations on various financial topics that are of interest to them. And especially as the workforce continues to age and start thinking about retirement or have these big life changes that are coming soon, it's really important to just keep them thinking about it and making sure that they are aware that they have access to plenty of different resources. I have been doing webinars, quarterly webinars on some of our financial basics topics with Aaron Vogel, who's another member of the education team. And those are available for anyone to view at any time. So making sure that that information is accessible, that's huge. And just making sure that the employees have as much access as possible to all of those resources.
Right. So Brett, final tips for an employer if they were not in or if they're looking to improve what they have.
I think I would say, ask yourself a few questions. When was the last time you heard from your advisor? When was the last time that your advisor did a thorough fiduciary plan and investment review with you? Look at the structure of support that you have. Who's serving as plan trustee? Do you have a fiduciary investment manager or advisor? Do you have confidence in your record keeper or your other service providers? How are they providing those services to you? Are you getting annual meetings, annual reviews with those parties to make sure that you're aware of what's going on? Think about the plan participation that you have now, the education that you have access to now. When was the last time someone talked to your participants? When was the last time they had one-on-one meetings? Can they meet with an education specialist? Can they meet with a financial advisor? Are they getting the knowledge they need to really make the most of that benefit?
Right. And Sam, for participants, what would be some final tips for them?
Make sure to have good communication with your employer. If you want things that you're not seeing in your plan, let them know, because in most cases, if they're a good employer, they're going to listen and want to be able to give the employees what they're asking for. Also, if you're an employer with a current retirement savings plan and some of these concepts that Brett and I have been talking about seem a little foreign, or you're thinking, my current advisor doesn't do that, then give us a call and we'd be happy to help out.
Oh, thank you so much, Brett and Sam, for sharing your expertise and insights on enhancing retirement plan outcomes and how employers and employees can work together to ensure they're ready for retirement.
Yes.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in. If you have questions you'd like us to tackle, please go to the show notes, type your question, and hit submit. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes of Your Money, Your Mission, the podcast designed to turn complex financial situations into actionable advice, powered by Johnson Financial Group.
This podcast is not a recommendation to buy or sell any investment or financial products. Whether a particular investment or financial solution is right for you depends on the facts of your particular situation. Please consult your own professional advisors prior to taking any action based on the content of this podcast. Wealth management services are provided through Johnson Bank and Johnson Wealth Incorporated, Johnson Financial Group companies. Additional information about Johnson Wealth Incorporated, a registered investment advisor, and its investment advisor representatives is available at advisorinfo.sec.gov. Investment products are not insured by FDIC, are not deposits, and may lose value.